So this is what is the anxiety of Mother Yashoda. Listen to this. So the transcendental ecstasy known as distress of maternal affection, for this was aroused within their minds. Within their minds there's so much anxiety, Yashoda and Rohini of Krishna Balaram. And this is number one, because they were touching cows' horns. You know, it's dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous. Then fire, you know, because in the Vedic houses the fire was always open. So they were always running towards fire. So Madhya Shoda was by animals with claws. You know, the chicken or whatever the animals with claws. And teeth, such as monkeys, dogs and cats. Because Krishna Balaram, they want to touch everybody. You know how children, they touch the dog, you know, like this, or so the dog can scratch them. Cats and dogs. And by thorns, the bushes. So the kids were always going. By swords and other weapons on the ground. I don't know, what does that mean? Weapons on the ground. And this is always, they were always touching these things. They said Krishna Balaram was always touching these things. And the boys, this is the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, they could not control the boys. The boys were most fickle. They're very running always, all the time. They wanted to touch horns of the bulls, teeth of the dogs. That what should touch the teeth of the dogs. And the teeth of the monkeys. Nitya, I'm just giving a Mataji class here. Yeah, and then later on say who is really, Prabhupada says actually the women are much more religious than men. Actually, just recently read, he said because women are just accepting it. Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, okay. But man has to be convinced, you know, philosophically and this and that. And women just accept it, okay, no problem. You know. This person or that person is the same to me. So, they wanted to touch the teeth of monkeys. They wanted to touch various snakes. Because they did see a snake and they wanted to touch. I saw this once, there were some kids playing and they were squeezing frogs, you know. They didn't want to kill them, but they just wanted, you know, they like this. Boys likes to touch frogs, for example. And knives, somehow they couldn't keep away. And they were attacking birds such as peacocks. Did you ever chase a peacock? Anybody chase the peacock? You? Do they run in circles? Yeah, but not the female, the male peacock. We had one in Tennessee. We had one peacock, and he was always running in circle. You know, so we always chased him like this, and he was running like this. It was very funny. But he, you know, when the mating season, then he was a very, you know, anything you do, you close the window like this, and he hears this from a branch at night, and he's like, wow, wow. And then once he starts, we have the 13 peacocks, and all of them, wow, at night, like 2 o'clock, you go to the bathroom, we have to be regularly walking on tiptoeing because they're so loud. If they hear one noise, something, so we have to always like close the door really easy at night. Because if you slam it or something, they hear it, and just all of them, they wake up and start yelling like half an hour. Anyways, peacocks. So what happened is, they said as soon as Krishna Balaram started crawling, I'm speaking all this is like a still introduction to this when Mother Yashoda was chasing Krishna. And as soon as Krishna Balaram started crawling, meaning they could use they could move, they're not anymore stationary, they became inseparable. Whatever they did together. Imagine two just following, you know. Wherever one went, the other went. And he says, the two boys were like one body, shining like a small moon and sun. They slept together, they ate together, they got dressed together, and nourished their infant emotions too. So whatever they did together from a very, very young age, Krishna Balaram. Therefore, when we worship Krishna, we worship Balaram, Krishna Balaram, as babies. And in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada installed Krishna and Balaram. Because they said in this place, Krishna and Balaram are herding their cows. It's called Raman Reti. Raman Reti is called, translation is enchanting sand. So Raman, Radha Raman, enchanter, he's enchanter of Radha, Radha Raman. Raman Reti is sand which is very enchanting, very magical sand. Because in this sand, Krishna Balaram played with the cows and calves. So they were all together all the time. They were engaged in the same activities like one body in two forms. So they were the same height, Krishna and Balaram the same height, and you can see also on the altar in Vrindavan, they are the same height. It's not like one is bigger than smaller. Sometimes in temples, because I don't know why, in the maybe one temple had Krishna, one temple Balaram, so they're making Krishna Balaram. I was in one temple, in Vrindavan temple, small, private. And there was a Gonita, and Nityananda was this big, and Lord Chaitanya was almost twice as long, So it's all good in Vrindavan. But they are the same height. Krishna, in the original Krishna Balaram, they are the same height. So then what did Krishna Balaram do? When they start crawling, they went where? Where the young kids would like to go? To the muddy places. Created by cow dung and urine. So whenever the cow dung and urine is, they will go there and play there, inside. We know the kids like puddles somehow, or water. They like to jump in the puddles. How many times you see kids jump in the puddles? So Krishna Balaram, this is not anymore Mataji class. Krishna Balaram, welcome. Krishna and Balaram were playing in the cow urine, they jump in cow urine. And they said, the Krishna and Balaram have ankle bells. Again, the question is, why do Krishna and Balaram have ankle bells? Anybody knows the answer? Why?
So they hear where they are.
They hear where they are. Because if you have ankle bells, then you can hear clink, 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 then mother can continue cooking. Otherwise, you don't know where your kids are. So this is really nice, actually. You clink, you see a ching, 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 and my child is around. Like a little goat, they have little goats with the... So, yeah, cowbell. So then you always hear where they are, So, and now this is a very nice verse here. Oh, this is also very interesting. Because they're very small, they thought, some people walk by. At that time, I don't think the Mother Yashoda had a fence on her yard, Like even here, people don't have fences in Bayan. So they were playing in the yard, and some people would walk by, and Krishna and Balaram would think, this is my mother. And they would follow them. And he said, when they see they were not my mother, they became frightened. This is not my mother. Oh, and they will run back to the house. What is interesting here is, this is one of my favorite, dressed with the muddy earth, mixed with cow dung and cow urine, the babies looked very beautiful. So in reality, that means that they were always in mess. And the kids actually in India at that time are naked. They have a little rope, or not rope, what is this? No, what is up in this? What do you do when you sew? Thread. They had a little thread, a little thicker thread around. This is what kids have, isn't it, in India? Because it's so hot, especially in the village, in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is so hot in summertime. So they were naked, and they were crawling, and they were dressed in muddy earth mixed with cow dung and cow urine. So this is Krishna and Balaram. Imagine they come with a mess everywhere. So this is the... So therefore, when we do the so-called Panchagavya Abhishek, when Krishna was born, Nanda Maharaj did the Abhishek on Krishna Balaram, and he used this Panchagavya. Panchagavya is 5 products of cow. This is milk, yogurt, butter, and cow and urine and dung. So you bathe Krishna with cow urine and cow dung. So of course in the West you see, somebody bathed with a stool of an animal. But in India, Prabhupada says many times that cow dung is actually very beneficial and used as antiseptic. And devotees, we all did this in our fanatical days. I don't know, Gopi Gita, did you do? But, I go home, when I go home and I don't want to eat from the pots, my Karmi mother cook meat, so I bring cow dung and I wash the pots with cow dung. And she says, what are you doing, I said, I'm purifying the pot. And she's like, oh my, purifying it with the cow dung, you know. You know, for them it's like just crazy, you know. And I explained the Vedas, you know. The bone is considered contaminated, but actually the what's the name of this? The conch shell, this is considered pure. And she's like, okay, you know, so much. So you purify the pot with the cow dung, okay. My crazy son, you know. So we all did this because it's Prabhupada said, you know, it's a purifying agent, cow dung. Gober, as they say, I don't know, in UP, I don't know where you're from. How do they say? But you're from these areas. You're from North India, but anybody from South India? You're from which part of India you're from? Andhra. How do you say cow dung? In North India we say gobar. Gobar.
Yeah, a different language. My language, they say it in a different way. What do you have to say?
Pera. But this in Hindi is a gobar. Yeah. Hindi. I said in our North India we say it like this. So, but you are also not from. You are on a border a little bit. You are south more. Anyways, so Krishna and Balaram are dressed in this cow dung and cow urine, and then when Rohini and Yashoda, they see them, what do? They pick them up and embrace them with great love. They don't think like, oh, my son is dirty. There's so much love there. And as soon as they bring them, they immediately give them breast to suck their milk. So the Mother Yashoda is so affectionate, she's actually the most affectionate. Because the mother's love is the most affectionate in reality for the child. There's no comparison, Prabhupada says. There's no comparison. So when Krishna and Balaram are sucking the milk of Mother Yashoda, what's happening then? They smile sometimes, you know, and then they show their little 2 white teeth, you know, here. And he said, everybody, mother knows. You know, I remember seeing some kid, you know, with these small teeth, and this is most cute, as we say in India, in English. So Mother Yashoda this is increasing transcendental bliss to Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini. When they see Krishna and Balaram sucking milk, already white, you know, milk, and then there's a little 2 teeth, you know, they're smiling. So the mother, there's no end to the transcendental bliss. So, so what's happening now? This is talking about the news here. What is the news in the village? This is what I have here written, Gopi Gita. I actually will quote Gopi Gita for a moment. But first, that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they will enjoy the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. As you said, they're always inseparable, walking together. And they would go, what would they do, you know, besides all this touching the horns of the animals, all these dangerous things, touching cats and dogs and snakes even. They would catch the end of the calf's tails. You know, little calf is already, you know, all the little animals, the young animals, the little jumpy, you know, every cat, small baby cat, you see we have these baby cats, they jump. You know, even little pigs, little piglet, they like to jump. So the cows, little baby cows, calves, they're very jumpy, you know. The mother cows is just standing there patiently, and the baby is running. And so Krishna and Balaram, they see the tails of the calves, and they grab the tails. So what happened? The calves were also what's going on? So the calves start jumping and running, and they drag Krishna and Balaram through all this mud, dirt, again, cow dung, cow urine, everywhere. And it says, the ladies saw these pastimes and stopped their household activities and laughed and enjoyed the incidents. So this is the fun in the village. You know. This is the news, and that they spoke about it. Do you know what Krishna did? What? He was holding the half. And then now it comes, there's a Gopi Gita. When we came here to Simachalam, Gopi Gita told us that we have 2 new cats, you know. And then she told about the whole cats. What do they do and how did? And we were like, you know, we came from big cities, and we were thinking like, the village. This is the village news, you know. People in the village, this is important for them. 2 new cats, and how do they eat? And they were jumping here, and this one is a little bit more. This one is better. So this is the village news. The village news is that they saw Krishna and Balaram holding tails, and actually it is said that every time Krishna and Balaram do something, the gopis, the gopas, they start singing about this, about the activities of Krishna. And we have all these wonderful songs given to us by our acharyas, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur. The wonderful songs, and also some other. Like for example, there's this song called Yadi Gorana Hoito. You know, honey? Yadi Gorana Hoito. Yes. If Lochita, what will happen? Sorry, I didn't mean that one. I meant, I don't know, it's a song by Vasudev Ghosh. And he explains about the youth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he you know, how sweetness, the pastimes between Mother Sachi and small Gauranga, baby Gauranga. And he said that small Gauranga did some mischief, and he comes in front of Mother Sachi, and he covers his eye and he said, Mother, I cannot see you. And Sachi said, Nimai, I cannot see you either. You know, where are you? Where are you? And he said, here I am. And Mother Sachi is enjoying the oceans of transcendental bliss. So this is the relationship between the mother and Krishna, Yashoda and Krishna, and Sachi and Krishna. This was their enjoyment, because actually the real enjoyment is not. I'm actually writing a book about this right now. The happiness doesn't come from accumulating external things, so we can be more and more gratified, more and more enjoyed ingrained in sense gratification. The real actually gratification comes from hearing and seeing Krishna. Simple thing. It is described how Krishna does simple pastimes over and over, and everybody is enamored by this. It's not like we heard this pastime of Kaliya and we think, oh, I heard it twice and it's boring now. But actually, on a transcendental level, these pastimes are ever and ever new, and ever relishable. So how does that work? We have to come to this platform and we will understand. And the same thing as Mahamantra. You chant Mahamantra for so many years. Yes, Jadaveta Swami, how many years he's chanting? 60, probably 50? If he joined 67, I think. Anyone in mathematics here? If he, I don't know, 67 probably he joined, or 68, say 68. So that's 30, 55, say 57, 57, 56, 57 years. Imagine. You chant Hare Krishna, same mantra. We were down in Passau last week. We had this, how do you call this? Community Sankirtan Festival. And there was one lady came out of the shop. And she said, ich kann nicht mehr hören. Hare Krishna, gleiches Lied. Ich kann nicht mehr. She said, I cannot hear over and over the same song. I cannot hear it anymore. And I don't know, did you speak to her? Who spoke to her? Yeah. You spoke to her. What? But we have the same. And he said, sorry, this is the song we have, you know. What did you tell her?
What did I tell?
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, she was like complaining, this is so annoying, and I was saying, actually, we want to make the opposite. We want to bring joy to the people.
Yes.
She was like, no, it's not.
Yes. Because it's the same song. You know. So imagine 57 years, same song. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Same pastime, same Vrindavan, same Radha Damodar. You know, same. You go to Hare Krishna Balaram, they're standing there, you know, Haribol. Same people, same devotees. I see devotees I know from, 90s, 35 years. They're still there. Some of them half, this and that. Some of them half of that. But they're still there, doing the same thing. Chanting, waking up for program, seeing the deities like you never seen them. Imagine 35 years, same deities, and you're looking, oh, look at this, I've never seen this part or whatever. Because this is the nature of transcendence, continuous ecstatic actually darshan, as you can say. So seeing Krishna is a daily festival. Seeing Krishna, just Nrsimhadev, because we were talking today, Nitya was telling me it's time to wake up. So, Nitya was telling me, oh, look at Nrsimhadev, his lila color and this and that, and we spoke, and as we never seen Nrsimhadev before, but it's always new, our outfit. Somehow Nrsimhadev always looked fresh and clean and, always ecstatic, like as he wants to tell us something, So this is the nature of the transcendental world. Everything is always new and new. So that comes to the pastimes of Krishna, to the holy name of Krishna, to the Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna's Dham, Vrindavan Dham, is all transcendental and new. So the boys are very fickle, and so all these things, the news. Did I say about news? Yes. So on the end, just I want to say a few things about Mother Yashoda and Rohini. Were always in anxiety. And Prabhupada says as follows: all these pastimes of Krishna and the great enjoyment exhibited by the mothers are transcendental. Nothing about them is material. So this is the one thing which is very important. Although we like Leelas of Krishna, to hear about babies of Krishna, these are transcendental pastimes. They're not material, We are lucky somehow that we can relate, at least materialistically relate to them, but we should understand this is not a real thing. The real thing is to actually relate to them on a spiritual platform. Like Mother Venuya was asking, how can I become assistant of Mother Yashoda? Something like this morning. Maybe you can become, maybe you cannot become, but the point is that to understand this is a transcendental level, and I can follow the footsteps of Mother Yashoda, meaning be servant of the servant, and by hearing the pastimes, maybe one day I'll become qualified to become, if you have a desire, to become a servant of Mother Yashoda. Or whatever, there's so many different races. In spiritual world, Prabhupada says, there is anxiety, there is crying, and there are other feelings similar to those of the material world, but because the reality of this feeling is in the transcendental world, of which this world is only an imitation, Mother Yashoda and Rohini enjoy them transcendentally. So everything is there: crying, anxiety, anger. How many times I said this whenever I said it, that in Varshana, Varshana is the place of Radharani's residence, you can say. There's one place nearby, it's called Man Mandir. This is where Radharani goes when she's angry at Krishna. Imagine you angry at God. People like all, worshipping God, and Radharani is angry. She doesn't want to speak to Krishna. There's this famous, is one book of the Goswamis, that Radharani was waiting for Krishna. Krishna didn't come on time, of course, and so the gopis become very upset with Krishna that he makes our mistress anxious. So Lalita and Vishaka standing at the entrance. So Krishna came very casually, and they said, "Where are you going?" Krishna said, "I'm going." "No, you cannot come. You are making our Radha angry." And they become very angry and heavy at him. So imagine this relationship, that you're actually angry at Krishna, angry at the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're worshiping Krishna, we do sadhana, deity worship, and then you come to the platform, do you get angry at Krishna? But again, this cannot be imitated, as Prabhupada says, but this is to understand, this is on the transcendental platform. And so at the end, it's 5:40, Prabhupada says that everything in the material world, in the spiritual world, same as in the material world, but this is all transcendental. And particularly, I want to say about this is anxiety. The people, Yashoda is so much anxiety about Krishna. Is he going to, gored by a cow, or bitten by a dog, or so many anxieties. The child, is he going to fall or not, or, as we were recently, where were we recently? And then a child said, in the middle of, there was a family traveling to vacation, and a child said, "Mom," he said, "I have Bauchschmerzen," And my wife said, this is nothing worse can happen. In the middle of all this, you're in the train with all your luggage and the child has Bauchschmerzen, you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Because you don't know what's happening. So mother is in complete anxiety. So Mother Yashoda is always in anxiety for Krishna. So this is the, now little conversation between Srila Prabhupada and his devotees. First of all, the devotee said, is a devotee always in some anxiety to see others unhappy? Devotee is always in anxiety to see other people unhappy. And Prabhupada says, yes, how to deliver them? This is Krishna's anxiety. This kind of anxiety is welcome. I know once one devotee, or several times, whatever, in the old days, devotees were sitting, eating in the van, and he would look through the window and he would say, every bite I eat, another person lost chance to be delivered from the material world. They're walking by the car, and he said, I cannot eat. How can I eat? Because these people are walking, they have no chance. This is anxiety for Krishna. So, Prabhupada says, in the spiritual world, there's everything. But the central point is Krishna. Here, in the material world, anxiety is, where shall I get money? Where shall I get woman? And there is anxiety in the spiritual world, how shall I get Krishna? The anxiety here, the anxiety there, but this is the difference. So we cannot stop anxiety, we purify the anxiety. In the material world, everybody is in anxiety. How do I get money? How do I buy this? How do I, there's economy is going down, whatever. Stock market crashed, so many problems. How do I get this? Especially when you see students, the beginning of life, they study, but they have anxiety. Will I get a job? Now this India, America is closed for Indians. They got new visa, which is impossible to actually get. It's a working visa. Anyway, it's a long story. It's very expensive, and more or less that means the Indian students will not be able to work in America anymore. Oh. But they will come here, of course. 100,000 students next year from India coming to Germany. Hari Bol, So, yeah, basically, Krishna wants something to happen here. And what Prabhupada says here, and this devotee said, but do they have anxiety, the spiritual world people? He said, Prabhupada says, yes, the anxiety is there, but the quality is different. So Prabhupada says, the devotional Krishna anxiety itself is the first class devotional service. Actually, this is a devotional service, part of devotional service into having anxiety for Krishna. I hear this because when I stay in the Sadhutsima, I hear Ramananda's alarm. Sometimes I wake up earlier, and there's a police siren, then there's something else, there's something else. And going on and on and on, I was thinking, should I go and wake him up? It was going on. But this is the anxiety. He has to wake up because the Nrsimhadev is waiting. Imagine you're sleeping and devotees come from Mangalarti and Nrsimhadev is not awake yet because Pujari is sleeping.
That happened 2 times in 13 years. Not that bad.
Okay.
Literally 4:15. So what do? You wake up. So.
We happened this in one temple we were last year, 2 years ago. And we all came, usually we wake up early and you chant in front of the temple room because Pujari comes at 4 o'clock, unlocks the temple, wakes up Prabhupada, and he wakes up the deities. And then, 4:17, the door is still locked. We're all outside the temple room in the hallway, chanting, and nothing happened. 4:25, nothing happened. 4:28, nothing happened. So then we don't know who the Pujari is, So then we figure out 4:30 who the Pujari is, and the one lady ran, and he said, oh, I forgot, whatever. When we were in Pune, actually, they have this book, remember, at the entrance of the temple, they have this book, and each devotee's name there, and it's written who is coming from Mangalarti, every day. And you have a P, present. A for absent, but there's a one more empty, and there was written sometimes F. I said, F? And I asked him, what is it? Forgot. F is forgot. he forgot there's Mangal Artik. So there, I said, well, I don't know what kind of excuse. I remember I asked him, I said, what is this F, He said, I forgot. So I forgot, okay, F. Anyways, so this cannot be for Krishna, we cannot forget, Prabhupada says here, this is the first class devotional service. If one become anxious like that, then he is perfect. Janma koti sukritarina labhyate. After many, many millions of life of pious activities, one can get such anxiety. So it's not easy to be anxious for Krishna. To think like, oh my God, Nrsimhadev is still sleeping, I should, get up. I have to say this, another pastime. We were in San Francisco, and I met this devotee recently in Ireland. He's an Irish devotee. He was a pujari in San Francisco temple. There was a Gornitai temple, big Gornitai. And then one night, around 12 o'clock in the night, he was dreaming that he was going to the kitchen, and I was apparently involved, I don't know why. I was frying Gornitai in the pan. But not frying them with the oil, but just like in the pan. They were standing in the pan, and I was like heating them up in the pan, And then the pujari came and said, Jaya, Sachi, what are you doing, And Gornitai said, leave him alone. He's heating us up. We are cold. So he woke up. It was 12:30 or some night, and he went to the altar, and then he touched the heizkörper. Wie sagt man heizkörper? Heater. He touched the heater. It was cold. So Gornitais were cold. They woke him up, and he was like immediately tried to fix it and this and this and that. So anxiety. It's after many. Janma koti sukritarina labhyate. After many millions of life of pious activities, one can get such anxiety. It's not easy. It's not an ordinary thing to be anxious for Krishna. I remember this Prabhu told us this story when he was a book distributor in early days. And he would wake up and he said, oh my God, I'm late for Sankirtan. And he would dress everything, put his boots, book bag, and he would go out and he looked at 1 o'clock in the morning. But he has so much, he was thinking, oh, I'm late for the Sankirtan. So this anxiety is not easy to have. So, you don't think it is like ordinary activity, Krishna's anxiety. If one becomes full of anxiety for Krishna, that is the highest stage of perfection. Don't become perfect artificially. Perfect stage, we have to follow strictly the regulative principles, the injunction of the spiritual master, the Shastra. Then you can come to that stage. Don't artificially imitate. So we cannot imitate Madhya Yashoda, how we care for Krishna and this and that, because this is a different level. So this is the Prabhupada says an anxiety, and he quotes Rupa Goswami, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mittikriyam Madi Kutopi Labhyate. The anxiety for Krishna, if it can be purchased, immediately purchase it. Rupa Goswami said, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam. Just purchase this anxiety for Krishna if it is available anywhere. So what is the price for this anxiety? Famous verse? Tatra lolya molya mekalam. This anxiety can be purchased by, the anxiety can be purchased by anxiety. Lolyam, greed. Prabhupada translated this as greed. So do it. The anxiety is not available even by millions of birth of pious activities, and it is not easy. So this is the message for all the assembled devotees. That this, if we can somehow get anxiety for Krishna, we should accept it. In Prabhupada translate this anxiety as responsibility. You take responsibility for Krishna. I mean, so many times you do something like you would never do in your life, but you do it for Krishna. You do it for Krishna. You do something which is like, I remember when I became temple president, I was like, me? I was like, me? There was nobody else. And they said, you have to be. There was one devotee. Anyways, we opened a temple. I found a building. We got some new devotees. We were like 12 new devotees. And I said, okay, I did my job. I'm going back to, traveling. I was Sankirtan, whatever. And the temple president is supposed to come, and he canceled. So then in the morning, my guru said, okay, Jasachi, because you go wake up your bhaktas. I said, they're not my bhaktas, I'm going, they're traveling. And he said, no, you stay here, you're a temple president. I was like, never had such a cold sweat, I was like, how am I going to do this? How? I never paid bills. I didn't know anything. I was always saying this, but my mother was so kind to me. I would eat and I would just leave the table. I would never touch, I would never wash dishes. I didn't do, like in my room, if I have a t-shirt wearing 2-3 days, whatever, and I just throw it on the ground. I don't even put it in the basket. And she comes like after a week and she picks up everything, washes, folds everything. I didn't do anything. Very lazy. And then I have to become town president. How? I said, how can I do this? Krishna will help you. Okay. Then it was like, I remember the first 3 days I was just like completely in, not anxiety, in fear, in terror, And I would pretend everything is nice. I just remember this terror. I had the terror. I was terrorized, Dread. But then somehow or other, slowly, then I have to I go to the library, buy a book, how to manage, I have no idea. How do you pay bills? And what is electricity bill? I've never heard about this. Slowly, and then in the end, it became my service for many, many years. So this anxiety, and then, buying cups, buying this, or renting place, and neighbors, and all these things. But this is all for Krishna, So we should try to do something for Krishna. Some responsibility for Krishna, some anxiety for Krishna. Because Prabhupada says, again, this verse, Koti, what is it? Janma koti sukritarina labhyate. After many, many millions of lives of pious activities, one can get such an anxiety. So it's not an ordinary thing. So we should try to, even if we are, whatever, no matter how small it is, we should do. Krishna Balaram ki jai. Anxiety ki jai. And tomorrow, or whatever is next, I don't know, Sunday, I don't know, everything's now changed. When is the next? I will speak about actually Krishna running away from Adi Yashoda. So, do you want to ask anything, say anything? This is in Samstag, or Saturday. No, Freitag. What Freitag again?
Hare Krishna, just a short question, practical one. I understand the point that it's nice to have anxiety for Krishna, but what if there's someone who, long-term or short-term devotee, they just have real anxiety problems,
A person who has an anxiety problem.
Yeah, and then they, really, like how, because they can make a bit of havoc sometimes too, right? They can, like, what if it's anxiety problem, they somehow put it a little bit with Krishna, but actually you just know that they might be just a bit manic or...
Then that person should take anxiety which is fitting.
What if...
Everybody can have something, and if they cannot do anything, they can eat. I'm going to the extreme. If I understood what you want to say, you think we should not put extra anxiety on a person who is already anxious? Something like this?
Something like that.
Yeah. No, if someone is anxious, we should not.
Well,
But
I mean, what if they use it like they're just anxious, maybe materially?
Yes.
I mean, your point was that you can transfer it spiritually.
Yes.
But if they're not really, still they're in the temple, but they're actually anxious about all material things. You see it sometimes with devotees. They're just.
But
like,
what is our role? Are we observers, or we are the? Depends who we are.
part of the community.
If we are in the community, then we should try to calm this person down. I don't know. Or this, try to. Just like any, I work with so many young devotees, some young devotees are very easy. You can just tell them go, and they do it. Jump into the fire, they jump into the fire. Some are not so easy, some are rebellious, and some are really fragile. So fragile, you cannot tell them, like, I had this one bhakta, I don't want to say his name. I remember I said, could you bring this, and he's like, start crying. And he put his hand on my shoulder. And I said, it's okay. Sometimes people are fragile, So they just behave to them like this, it's okay. So we all, whenever he started crying, all the devotees come and pat him, it's okay. But slowly, and then he became Sankirtan devotee. Going out 5 hours, 6 hours, warrior. But some people take some time or patience. Some people have to be patient. Some people never come up. I remember there was one boy we had. I could not tell him anything. I just didn't want to tell him anything. I just whatever he eats, whatever. But he would be, he was not like doing his thing. He was with us, everything. But I did not. I saw it. If I say anything, he would be immediately, crushed. So I just let him. And after some time, he came to me and he said, "Oh, I would like to do this and this and that." Because you see, he's a good-hearted person, and you just let him get purified a little bit, or let him, because association devotees, seeing the deities, eating prasadam, and after they get purified, after some time, then they will come back to you, if they are good. If they are not good, then you can say, well, maybe, you can live in your house and visit the temple or something like this. But with these people, have to just be patient and motherly, because there's so many fragile people. I always have at least 20% fragile people. And they all come with, and you just, yeah, you're right. And you don't give them much to do. I remember I had one Mataji, Bhaktin, her service was to vacuum the temple once a day. It takes like 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And that's it. And after some time, she came to the she could wash the dishes in the kitchen. Wow, so there was like advancement. And I think she didn't make it further than that. But she did something. You have to appreciate everybody has to do something for Krishna. And if they all come up slowly, sometimes people are, 10 years of just eating and coming, suddenly what was the recently I saw somebody got initiated after 20 years. 20 years, and then, initiated. It took them 20 years to get initiated. So some people take time. It's not, as Maharaj was saying this morning, it's not our temple, it's not our Krishna. We are the assistant here. We are servants of Krishna. We are servants of Nrsimhadev. We are assisting people. We are the instruments to bring people to Nrsimhadev. We are servants of Nrsimhadev to help people to make progress in the name of Nrsimhadev. It's not my temple. It's not my deed. My devotees or whatever. We see this person who came to Nrsimhadev, and I, as a servant of Nrsimhadev, I try to help this person. Something like this. All right. 3% Pro.
The anger of the group is pleasing to Krishna.
Yes.
Therefore, they are more dear to Krishna than those gopis who always try to be nice to him.
I wouldn't say this. Krishna, as I said, Krishna is equally. Yes. Krishna said Krishna is equally pleased with Chandravali group, because Chandravali is she's a, you can say, a rival of Radharani, and the Chandravali is the very submissive gopi. Whatever Krishna wants, she does. But Radharani is not submissive. They said that Radharani is left wing. Left wing, in material world, left wing is liberal, right wing is conservative, and the spiritual world is the other ways around. Radharani is left winger, and Radharani is left wing, and what is her name? Chandravali is right wing. And it said that both are dear to Krishna, but Radharani is a little more dear to Krishna. Meaning we should not think like, oh, Chandravali, nonsense. She's very dear, she's a gopi, she's very dear to Krishna. All these people, Jatila, Kutila, which we laugh, all this. These are very dear devotees of Krishna. Very dear devotees of Krishna. Same with Indra. When you read about Indra, we think, Indra is funny, he's making mad. He's Indra, he's a demigod. Indra is one of the greatest devotees. So we should always, with folded hands, respect this. And then when we come to enter the Lila, and then we become a party of Radharani, then we can say, I don't want to talk to this Chandravali. Like Raghunadas Goswami, you know this story. Okay, for the end. Raghunadas Goswami would not eat anything because he would be... So he would drink only 1 leaf cup of buttermilk. And leaf cup, there's a tree in Vrindavan. I don't know if it's still there. In the 90s, there was some trees like this. The leaves form like a cup. You know, anybody knows from India? You know? Maybe this is North India. Or maybe this is only Vrindavan, you know. It's formed like a cup, really like a cup. I'm not exaggerating. I saw this tree. And so he would drink this much. And this is so small, you know. And he would drink this, and that would be for the day. Just Charanamrita. And I don't think they had honey at that time. You know, like we put tons of honey in Charanamrita, and we, you know, I think in Vrindavan they just put maybe yogurt or maybe only one, you know, maybe a little yogurt. And so they were thinking, devotees, like, oh my, they feel pain. Raghunath is so skinny, and he's always sick because he doesn't eat anything. So one devotee thought, devotees, you know, he said, let me bring a bigger cup, you know. It's the same leaf cup because they asked him to drink from a bowl he didn't want and anything. So he went to another area and he found a tree with bigger leaves. So he brought Raghunath and they filled up the cup. And Raghunath looked at the cup and he said, this is not from this tree. And they said, well, no, but it's the same tree. And Raghunath said, what did you get? Which tree was that? He said, this is the tree near Kusum Sarova, some area. And Raghunath threw this on the ground. And he says, why? Why did you throw this? He says, this is with the camp of Chandravalis. I don't want anything to do with this girl. She's my enemy. So, this is the transcendental level. But for us, Chandravali is a great devotee. Greatest devotee, actually. She's a lover of Krishna. All right, I think this is it for today. Thank you very much. I think we are going to... Are we going to? Paramahamsa Gaura's. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Krishna Balaram ki jai, Sri Damodara-lila ki jai. And tomorrow, I guess I didn't know I'm going tomorrow morning lecture again. We'll speak more of Lasat Kundalam. Oh, Nitya, tomorrow is Thursday. Thank you. No, Thursday, Nitya, you are giving. Okay, Hare Krishna. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.